and welcome to episode 21 of the Good Game Roundtable podcast. I'm Lin Jie Kong, and this is part 4 of Humans of Good Game, a series on the podcast filled with individual interviews with everyone on the team. We're celebrating Good Game's 10th anniversary this year, so I thought what a better time to ask everyone to discuss their experiences working on Good Game. Later on the show, it's a dynamic duo of Rad Yeo Sam Gordon, but first I chat to our longtime sound mixer Timothy Pearce about his career and the challenges involved in finding the right sounds for banjo in our Spawnpoint. So is your official title sound mixer, or is it sound engineer, or...?
Probably into... what I do, it's sound editor mixer.
Yeah.
It's as much editing as it is mixing.
Yeah.
Especially, say, doing an all episode of Good Game.
Yeah.
That's probably more mixing.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly with Spawnpoints, it's very intensive. So I'd probably spend the first 3 hours or so editing. And then as I'm mixing along, I'll still be editing stuff in, especially extra effects to go with different little moments that we're trying to create in the episode.
Yeah. So a lot of people, I mean, we talk a lot about sound mixing, you know, the fact that episodes have to go to sound mix before they go to broadcast and everything. And it's probably like the most professional thing that I guess still happens in terms of television broadcasts or you know, filmmaking and stuff, because
You're trying to run down the camera crew and the editing and all that.
No. I'm not trying to run down that. But in terms of what people do, say for example on internet platforms, you know, if they need to put a video up on YouTube, yes, they, you know, they'll shoot it, they'll edit it, but most often it's a sound mixing and sound editing that's missing. Because that takes time and takes resources, right?
Oh, yes. I think it's, though some of the more keen people, if they know someone, they'll lean on people to do a bit of a mix or whatever. And a lot of people have got the resources. There's lots of copies of Pro Tools around and other bits of software, so you can do a reasonable job. It's easier to see visually what you're doing, you know, like, oh, my pictures, they're looking a bit flat, and someone might say, oh, if you do just a little bit of lighting, it can really make the thing come to life, and people like pick that up. I think for a lot of people are saying, I hear this basic sound I've got, and then I hear someone else's finished product, and I think, I don't understand what I have to do to get from there to here to there.
Yeah.
And if you ask a sound person, they start going off into obscure mantras about compression and equalization and stuff. And so people just go, oh, that sounds too hard, I won't bother. Yeah. So maybe that's where the issue lies. Is it? Because
it's a similar thing with music, right? Like if you can see something, you know, if people can see a picture on a page and they're like, I can either draw that or I can't. Or I can kind of see what I need to do to get this result, right?
Yeah.
But if you listen to a piece of music or you listen to a sound or something, if you weren't trained in it, or if you don't have the knowledge of the technical knowledge of what's happening, then it's very, very hard for you to actually gauge what's happening.
In some ways, there's a bit of technical knowledge, there's a lot of experience.
Yeah, right.
And in some ways, it's a bit the same thing would happen with editors and camera people. They have a sort of a framework to look at things in, or, you know, have and the same thing would happen with someone who's been doing sound for a while. Yeah. It's learned, because a lot of what you're doing, in some ways, it's mixing for television is quite different from mixing for music. Music will tend to have a lot of dynamic range by comparison, mostly. In television, we're really trying to get the dialogue to be this almost like this little flat, narrow, incredibly narrow band of loudness throughout the program,
like
and be
as
really
crisp
consistent.
As
crisp, but also sort of makes it more clear and well-rounded. Yeah. But also the loudness should not fluctuate really throughout the episode. Yeah. It should feel very consistent. Yeah. And then the other things move around that. Whereas in music, you can go, particularly, I suppose, modern dance music is probably a harder one to explain. But more traditional music, instrumental and acoustic, or instrumental and vocal music, that has an impression of being performed. Yeah. As an ensemble, we'll have moments where it's nice and might drop down to one instrument playing quietly, and then you'll have everyone going for it, you know, another part of the song. Yeah. And you expect the loudness to rise and fall through it. So there isn't one element that stays the same through a song generally.
So speaking about experience, how long have you been doing this?
I originally joined the ABC in 83 and went and did location sound. I was a trainee and then did location sound from the end of 85 through to mid-96 and then for a number of reasons and after a bit of lobbying moved into post-production.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing post-production now for 20 years.
Wow.
Which seems might be scary for some people.
It is a little bit scary. I mean, when you said you started at the ABC in 83, I wasn't actually born in 83. So that is quite scary. But I mean, you know, I think with a lot of people, like the ABC had such a great trainee program that they kind of came in and, you know, kind of stayed on and also moved around. Did you always want to go into sound or entertainment or media growing up? Like, what did you want to do?
Well, it's an interesting little path. I suppose I became a bit disillusioned with my experience of education towards sort of probably around, from year 10, the end of year 10 on, I was feeling like, there should be more than this. Yeah. And maybe that was me just being lazy.
Like, were you like a closet rock star? Like, I feel like you could have, you know, gone down that path.
Yeah, look, and I had dabbled a bit in music earlier and then I came back to it a bit more later teens. And so when I left school, I actually went off and, you know, basically all my cohort went to university and I went off and made surfboards for a year.
Yeah, wow.
And then cooked chooks and things like that. Yeah. And then I was thinking, yes, I'd love to pursue music and performance. It slowly dawned on me over that time that I really didn't have the talent and the ability to really pursue that. But I suppose at the same time there was this growing sense of I'm really intrigued by maybe not playing a particular instrument, but the whole the production and recording and that in some ways at that stage there was probably an awareness that was becoming a bit of like another instrument in the process too. And so that really intrigued me. And then I heard about, at the end of 81, a course at School of Audio Engineering, which was very much in its very early days then. And so I studied there through 82, and that really sort of confirmed that I really liked doing sound. At that stage, I was still very much thinking of sound in a music context. And then I was approached to record the soundtrack for a short film from some students, or a particular student at Sydney College of the Arts, and it was a little sort of musical set in a sort of cafe somewhere theoretically, and it was still recording music and mixing music for this film. But I suddenly went, this is really intriguing, joining sound to vision. Yeah, and so that was a really useful experience in terms of pushing me in some direction. So at that stage, I was still much going, okay, come the end of the year, where do I go, sort of thing. And then heard about this, what turned out to be a fabulous traineeship program at that stage in the ABC. So I applied, and it was a strange group in some ways. There was, I think, out of the people who end up in TV, there was 26 or something. Yeah. And only 2 of us actually had any interest in sound at all.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that was through their selection process. There was quite a lot of people who applied. That was the group they ended up with. And I always thought, you might have hired 4 sound people.
Yeah, they're particularly important in the production process.
You find that then,
Yeah.
So in some ways I just stumbled into that, and it's become quite an enduring thing. And really, I came out of having done this course very raw, really. I had some knowledge, but in terms of that's probably what I'm saying before with creating a framework and also an ability to listen and hear, try and break down the elements and say what is constructing that sound. Yeah. And that's really taken years and years to build that up as a quite a powerful tool in what you do. Yeah.
I had a sound teacher in uni tell me that most sound people have bad hearing. Is that true?
No.
He's probably just lying. Probably just him. Yeah.
I think you actually learn to listen in a different way from other people. That's probably and then that may appear at times as being worse hearing, but it's also maybe you sort of.
But you attuned it at different things, you know.
Yeah. So you're listening through, and that it's people have those skill sets with whatever craft they're involved in. They can sort of perceive details other people don't. But maybe then other times don't see other things. You're more deep going into it deeply, and you're going like, oh, I can't necessarily pick that though. And someone says, oh, can you hear that?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, see, I was talking to Grant yesterday about sound, and we talk about the magic and the mystery of sound. And it really is. It's a part of production that a lot of people don't understand. I think, especially on that producer directorial level, where someone like me is very adept at looking at lighting and visuals and editing as well, and that side of things. Whereas a lot of people go into sound, and it's like, I don't know, just make it sound good.
Yeah.
Like, do you find it frustrating occasionally if people come in, they have no idea what they should want, but they want certain things, and you're like, I don't understand what.
Yeah, I suppose it's. But it's actually nice if someone says, I have a sense of what I'm after.
Yeah.
And if you just talk around what you've got and generally not the sense of an idea comes out, and you can start to run with that. Yeah. The hardest thing is sometimes when people say, I really want to do this, but the material they've got for you to work with almost precludes that. And it can't, just because of the way it's been done or the situation it's been done in, it's really hard to get to their dream location.
Sure.
One thing I heard years and years ago that was probably quite a useful thing, with a camera, looking through a lens, you see an image.
Yeah.
And there can be all sorts of things happening outside it. But, you might be doing an interview, say, and there's just a fairly sort of nondescript background.
Yeah.
But that was just a bit of wall, and there's actually like a major road beside you.
Yeah.
But you'll never know in a picture.
Yeah.
Microphones, unfortunately, are lovely to explore the world around them. And so you can never get rid of you can reduce ambient stuff, but often it's very hard to get. You certainly can't get rid of it all.
It's much harder to fake something.
And so things can often be. I remember there was chatting with some people, and they wanted to have a interviewer's thought track, so we didn't actually ever see the person in the interview, and then have some sort of electronic dance music going and dancing images to go with this thing. And so they had, and we sort of, I was with a couple of people and chatting and say, okay, so what have you done? They say, oh, we've done the interview. Could you play us a bit of it? Oh, no, it's not great. Oh, so okay. And what they had was they'd record the interview, and there was technical faults with it. It was fairly hard to understand what the person was saying. So what that really meant was to make them strong and intelligible, to get the sense of the story they were trying to tell. You had to reduce everything else around it, because you had effectively the music and the visuals were almost a distraction from what the person was saying. But because their voice had been so poorly recorded and had sort of technical errors going on with it, it was like buzz and things like that.
Yeah.
You really had to turn the music down. So it was almost like the two elements they had were fighting each other.
Yeah.
Because one had been very poorly recorded.
Yeah.
And so, they're the traps you can end up in, sort of thing. So it's that thing of saying, it can be really useful if you can talk to someone beforehand, say, this is stuff I'd concentrate on in recording that element and bring it together. And that then gives people a bit of a guidance, and they can go, oh, okay, I need to know, be aware of that. So sound often is, and it's the same with getting good results of camera work, as much as planning what you kind of don't do as anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So what was your first memory of Good Game?
I came into it probably after the first 2 years. I think it was, I can't remember exactly. I think it was maybe, because the first couple of seasons were shorter, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they were split seasons across the year.
So I think it was probably about season 3. And I just hadn't seen much of it, and then I was having to be rostered onto it because the person who had been doing it prior to that was not around or was busy or something. And I was saying, oh, this is a lot of fun. And it was still, very much in its infancy in a lot of ways. Barjo was certainly there, so it was after that first year. But I really engaged with, like, this is a program actually having a lot of fun, but not, and that's helping to convey all the sort of stuff that they're talking about.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, this is actually unusual for television anywhere, because often people will try and do fun things, but it'll either gets in the way of or becomes, the vehicle itself rather than and there was some serious stuff to be talked about.
Did you have any sense back then that it would go 10 years? Because that's a long time in TV, right?
Yeah, it is. But I always thought it probably had longevity. By nature of it, you're always talking about the gaming
latest games,
is continuing. So there's always a new amount of material. And because I think it had a sort of character about the way it did things too. And that was not self-limiting. Sometimes you can say, if we do it in this style, but then that becomes more and more of a straitjacket. You have to force everything into. Yeah. So there was a smart move by Janet to have that open, fun way of approaching things.
And I guess you've seen the show develop from the second year, really. So you've kind of seen it over the 9 years, and as well as Spawnpoint over its 6.5, 7 years as well. Yeah. Do you see? I mean, obviously, audiences can see the differences between like that first season and the season now, but has anything about its development surprised you in terms of how it's kind of gone from year to year?
I suppose one sense that I have is that in some ways, maybe as Spawnpoint's grown up and become very confident in its style, and sort of that probably took 18 months to really sort of settle into.
Yeah, it took a good year and a half. I think if you watch like the first few episodes of Spawnpoint, it's very stilted. Darren doesn't move a lot. And
I think also because it was quite short too, there was a limit to what you could do. I think as when it went to the 25-minute duration sort of thing, it really there was a bit more elbow room. Yeah. And it started having a lot of fun. And I think in some ways maybe Good Game stepped back from and became a bit more straight in some ways. You still have lots of fun at times. So there's I remember things like there was I can't remember why it was, but there was this Western themed one.
Oh yeah. And that was a Western VC. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was lots of So I was talking about all the various games in that genre. So there's when I suppose Good Game has fun, it'll often be around topping. It'll be a very really nicely put together thing, but the rest of the program is quite straight. Yeah. Whereas Good Game, Spawnpoint by comparison is much more. You'll have fun all the way through the episode. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's just whatever makes us laugh, really.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty much
I think the whole Ask SP thing has just become sillier and sillier as time has gone on.
Yeah. Well, it's its own entity right now. It's like a moving train that you can't stop, and you just let it go, and it does itself. Is there any particular moment that you find memorable, or you have a favorite? Could be a few moments across the 9 years and the very many episodes, hundreds of episodes that you've mixed for us.
Oh, yeah. It's one thing with sound and editing and things like that. Especially when you're doing sort of day after day. Yeah. And you mix an episode in a day and then move on to Spawnpoint the next day and then sort of on to another show. They do tend to wash over. Yeah. It's a funny thing because you're so intense about them, and I can remember sometimes shooting stuff on location, and you might see that shot or a couple of shots appear in another program years later. Yeah, yeah. And you think, I know that shot, I was there. So it's somehow the memory is buried somewhere. Yeah. But in terms of recalling details or even what was that show about you only mixed 3 days ago? And you go, there was this, and eventually you can get back to it. But things I've really enjoyed, often it's probably, for me, it's been about sort of making the sound really sort of deliver further pictures, because often you can have great visuals, but it can be a bit sort of flat. So some of the Did You Name the Game things have been lots of fun. They just have grown over the years, and maybe the BCs like the Western, and the one I do particularly love, and it's probably more visually and things like that, was the Star Wars BC. Yeah. And the shot, or the little sequence I particularly remember in that, it's in some big parade from the thing. Yeah. And there's a cutaway of Nick and
Nick and Goose,
as Chewie's walking past. Yeah. And what I particularly loved was Nick pulls out his phone and does a selfie, which is this wonderful anachronism about sort of selfie phones didn't exist in the 70s when the film first came out, but it's always talking about the future. So it's like it's sort of where
it's
is
so meta. It's on many meta levels. Yeah.
And then there was another sequence with Gus and Nick, and Nick says, I don't think we need to go get involved in this one. I've never actually flown a X-Wing fighter before. I think some of that, it's probably where Good Game becomes almost like sort of this comedy drama stuff.
Yeah. Well, I keep saying we could almost make a dramedy just with our unit. Don't review games anymore. Just act and
play. The background though. Let's just go for it.
Yeah, it's fine. You know everything about games. Speaking about games, like, were you ever a gamer? Like, did you play games as a kid? No.
Or? Well, see, games. I was probably a bit too early for games, and I was, I sort of was constantly sort of tinkering around with music and things like that, and so, never really got into it, and I've sort of dabbled a bit. I've got two sons who are now sort of 20 and 21 sort of thing. So, we've had Wii's in the house and Xbox and things like that. So, I've had a go at Guitar Hero and, Wii Sports and lots of things like that. Yeah. It's probably, I've sort of gone, maybe I will, but then there's so many other things I actually want to do. And so it doesn't tend to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in the culture of games probably more than actually necessarily being a player. I find a lot of things that have grown out of gaming quite intriguing, and the way games can culturally reference each other, and that's fascinating. It is. It's been quite a. I'm trying to think. It's you're trying to service a simple thing like having fun, but often within the industry, so much more has happened that almost despite gaming, people had a chance to sort of, I've got this really good idea. If I turn it to a game, I can actually make $1 out of it and to fund doing this thing I actually really want to do, which is beyond the game. Yeah. And so maybe that's where things like GTA have grown from what was incredibly basic originally into these huge things. And in some ways, it's like if you go back to is that a game anymore? Yeah. Because you're just goofing off and doing stuff. Yeah. And yes, there might be some quests along the way that you can do, but it's just as much about roaring around and
I guess you've had the privilege of seeing the development of games in the last decade, really, like through the show.
Yeah, definitely.
And through weekly.
Yeah, weekly doses of it.
Weekly doses of it. I mean, you don't even have to play the games now. You've seen everything.
I've sort of gathered the best bits into my brain and along the way. Yeah. And I think also with the various backwards compatibles that have happened. So you get, the history I missed out on in the sort of 90s and maybe the late 80s because I was doing other things.
Too busy making surfboards.
Yeah. Playing saxophone, things like that.
Yeah. Is there something, or it could be a range of things that you're really proud of in terms of your involvement with Good Game?
I suppose the thing I enjoy doing each week, and it's probably more with Spawnpoint because maybe it's because it's more challenging in some ways. It's always like, what can I do this week? Is visually the production throws a lot of stuff at you and you say, make this happen. I'm trying to think. There's always...
And sometimes we don't tell you what's happening that week. I mean, sometimes we get a chance to tell you, oh, by the way, Tim, next week, just so you know, we're doing a MasterChef parody. Yeah. But most weeks we're like, you might get a Halloween special or Jurassic Park or something.
And sometimes those ones are probably maybe a little bit more straightforward because you guys have said, okay, there's this thing. But sometimes I'll say, is there anything particular at the end of we'll finish mixing Good Game? And I'll say, for Spawnpoint tomorrow, is anything I'd think about it? Oh, no, it's all pretty straightforward. Or there's this thing, and you think, that's actually quite simple. Yeah. And then you'll find in the Ask SP, there was like, oh, no, there's actually a monster here.
There's like 10,000 noises, Bajo's gone off, bowing to what king or emperor.
So they've been quite fun trying to think, what can I do this time? It's like, and I think there probably must be a sense in the studio that Bajo will just sort of do something even more daft this week. Yeah. And he's always trying to think, how can I bow in a particularly crazy way that relates to this name? And then I'll have to go, okay, what to do with that? Yeah. But often there's little things that have been quite fun to do where, like, sometimes it's maybe Bajo wiggles his glass or something like that. And so I went, I could actually put a little sound in for that. And it'll where there was not necessarily any humour before, it was just he's actually just adjusting them.
Yeah.
It suddenly becomes comic.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's been probably throwing that stuff at the production and having people say, no, we like that.
Yeah. Well, it's almost, it's a little bit Looney Tunes in effect, right? Like it's almost like putting in sounds for a cartoon or something, but it's actually live action.
Yeah. And it's that thing of saying, I could do something here, rather than necessarily saying, oh, that needs something. It's something, I can add something extra to this that none of us are expecting to have happen. And you could watch through the episode and you wouldn't have noticed the lack of it, but with it there, it's something that's just that little bit more than it otherwise.
It elevates it to another level.
Yeah.
Now, I know you probably haven't exhausted your sound library for Spawnpoint. I mean, even though we've done hundreds and hundreds of episodes.
Oh, there's times when you go like, I don't know what to do for that. But
at times, like, do you ever think maybe I will just make that sound? Like, is there ever...
Oh, very occasionally. I remember one time, not for Good Game, but it was doing creature features.
Yeah.
And they used to have a little sort of animation thing about animals you wouldn't want to have at home. Mm-hmm. And it was about a goose. Mm-hmm. Somehow there must be a tie back to Good Game somewhere. And it was running around in the animation and needed some sort of sound, and there wasn't. It was just a voiceover and a music bed, so it was entirely had to be constructed from effects. So I just jumped in the booth and just made some silly noise that sort of equated with a goose, and you just try and do something silly with the voice, or you take some bits and pieces into the booth and just put something close to the mic that whatever you can do that you'll search for the library, but you have probably a sense of not sure about that. This might be actually easy just to recreate. Yeah. And I've got this object or that object. I was fortunate I did a little bit of Foley recording when I first came into post. So they gave you a sense of, what you can do and probably do quicker with a few props and things than if you trying to actually get someone else's recording and put it together sort of thing. Yeah. So it's...
Is there one sound that you're dying to use on Good Game Spawnpoint? Just so I have an idea, and then we could create something around it.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it's more like going. It's a challenge of how do we actually make this come to life? Sort of thing. Yeah. One thing that happened just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was last week, when Baja came back from Melbourne.
Yes.
In Good Game. Yeah. And he was like, he had the beard and everything.
Yes, like that. Yes, the hipster.
And I was going like,
Baja.
What is the sound of hipster?
Yeah.
Because Rowan had. That was for Spawnpoint, was it, or for Main Show?
That was Spawnpoint. Yeah, Main Show had the Jurassic Park gag.
That's it. Yeah. So I was going. Rowan had done a visual treatment on the pictures. I was going, I need to give it something else, but what, and like hips is a visual thing. It's where is the sound in that? Yeah. So, but I thought it needs something, so I had to sort of try this, and then at the end, when you're sort of working away, you've always got this sense of like, okay, that's 30 seconds in a half-hour episode. I have 8 hours to get the show done in. Yeah. I can't spend forever on this little bit because there's so much more that'll need to be done. Sort of thing. But I think I pulled something out that was the sound of hipster.
Of hipster, yes.
And it was like going, oh yeah. So it's actually probably that challenge of like, I don't know how I'm going to solve this, but let's just get in there and try and find something. And sometimes you'll do a bit and then carry on with the episode and just think, and something will come to mind. Yeah. Or you might have to, you're hunting around trying some effects and think, that could be, that's what I need. Yeah. And it's actually looking for something else altogether is when you come across something. So when you say, is there a sound effect? No, because often it's that thing of, it's finding something for the context and or something that can be across the context of them. And sometimes it's a bit like the meta stuff with Star Wars back with BC. Yeah. It's that trying to get that it happening on a couple of different levels and stuff.
Of like different sounds coming up. Now, I'm just looking at your deck, your magical,
mixing desk, the giant
mixing
mouse.
desk, the giant thing. Do you know what every switch and knob does on that desk?
I'd say probably 95%. There's a few things in the monitoring path that we just don't use because of the nature of what we're doing. Yeah. It's the control surface is designed to be used possibly for for a music studio or for TV post or something else, I suppose. Trying to think what else you could be doing. So it has extra functions that we just would never have a use for. But the thing is, you say, it's this huge thing. It really is just a giant mouse because all the controls.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of switches and buttons. Thousands maybe?
No, it's probably 600-700, I suppose.
Right.
But a lot of you just reassign them, and they're just it's just a mouse.
Yeah.
You can do all the stuff on the Surface.
Yeah.
With a mouse and keyboard on the screen.
Yeah.
You can not have a desk at all.
Yeah.
It just makes some things quicker to do.
Yeah. So I guess it's things like color grading or whatnot these days that you could potentially do everything in a software with a mouse and keyboard because they've got your dialogue boxes or whatever.
Yeah.
But
and in fact, all you're getting with the control surface on a color grader is actually just it's easier to manipulate things.
Yeah.
It's the same way for if you're doing graphics. A lot of people like to use a tablet controller rather than a mouse because it's just easier. So
it's more
for me, having grown up working on analog control surfaces, actually where the sound went through the desk. Like this desk, nothing of the sound actually travels to here. It is purely just controlling the computer.
Yeah. I was going to finish off, asking, obviously there's a lot of technological advances in audio engineering, mixing and all that kind of stuff. Where do you think it's heading?
Well, it's still really just in the service of trying to create interesting sound. It just means, from when I first came in the industry and at that stage, things were pretty much maybe shorter form stuff was happening in like an electronic studio. So, but then very little was done to that. It was just too difficult.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of post production happening in film, but even that was non-linear effectively, but it was clunky. And you had all these different bits of strips of magnetic film, so you end up having this huge noise floor building up if you had lots and lots of tracks, and that was always the thing with big dramas, trying to manage all that, and then stereo was like another thing altogether. And then the industry went to multi-track for a while, which was in some ways a really cumbersome alternative. And now as soon as it went to non-linear, you could do stuff back as you could on film, but with better outcomes. And it's just become much, much, much more powerful. Like in the past, you'd actually have to go off to the sound library, go through, find discs of various sound effects, bring them up, load them in off CD into the computer. Oh, is that what I want? No, it's not. So you could only put in a few things, and you have some more standard effects you'd use regularly on that. There was optical discs we used to use. Yeah. And but there was a limit to you could only have 1,000 different bits of sound in a session, and otherwise it just wouldn't recognise any more than that. And so there was significant limitations, and so a lot of that's over time has developed. You can do a lot more things. You can give things more than 8 character names. So and then you can do so much more because you can move through the program much faster. So there's, in the past, a 12-minute show, like say doing Foreign Correspondent, you do a 12-minute episode story in a shift, and that was a busy 8 hours. And now I can mix, like 25, 30 minutes easily and add a lot more to the program than in then. So that's, and that's really been largely
the
through advances in
the
technology
system.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, other than Good Game, what's the coolest thing you've mixed or worked on?
I think thing I've probably remembered strongly over the years was doing some more music things, and particularly School Spectacular. That was I'm just a small part in the process, but it's still been trying to get that sense of this huge event onto a small screen is and I think with probably the last couple of years, last maybe 3 years of that the ABC produced the broadcast for it, we finally got there where it was like as good as what you were seeing live, and maybe another little bit more because you were that much closer to everything. Just because the team that were working on worked out how to really get the sound to happen, and visually, cameras were getting better. You had 2 big cranes in the room, and it was probably faster. Editing became faster too, and the past had been tape to tape for a long time on that, just because there was so much material. And then when they moved to a non-linear, it sort of became possible to do it that way because I think it was about 12 cameras.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of cameras,
so in terms of knowing what all the options were, and so I think visually and audio really sort of came to this is really polished.
Yeah.
And then it went. Oh, that's all right. Maybe it's time for it to go, but it was
just when you got a perfect.
Yeah, I can really do this now. It's like, yeah, go on.
Yeah, God damn it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tim.
No problem, Lin Jie. Thank you.
And, lots of facts and information for our audience there. Okay, cheers.
See ya.
And that was Tim Pearce. It's the first time over the last 6 years that I've been on the show that I've had the time to actually get to know Tim. And like everyone else who's had such an illustrious career in the ABC, he's an absolute well of knowledge and experience. Now it's time to check in with the production coordinator duo of Rad Yeo and Sam Gordon, or as we endearingly call them, Samrad. They're like the real-life human version of Cat Dog.
Shitty chitty bang
bang.
Bang. How's this for sound?
It's pretty good, Sammy.
Yeah. We're good?
Hey, Samrad. Rad Sam. It's like cat dog cat. Who's a cat, who's a dog? I asked Sam this question earlier.
I want to see what you say.
Oh, well, I think in comparison to Sam, I would be the cat. I feel.
But I was telling him you would make for a good chihuahua.
Me?
Yeah.
I hate chihuahuas. I hate small dogs.
But you've got that kind of, like slender kind of, intensity.
Chihuahuas are so awful.
I said that I was a dog and you were the cat. And then I said, no, we're both dogs.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. I like that. Dog.
Yeah. Dog.
I think we'd
join in the middle.
Be dog. But I think if someone had to be the cat, I think it would be me because...
Yeah.
I think you're just nicer than I am.
Yeah. But I love this because, you guys kind of started on Good Game at similar times, I want to say. And Sam was here for a bit longer, I think.
So I started in 2011.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Jesus.
That's a long time.
Doing work experience and then got a casual gig that year. And you started...
I started the year after. I started 2012 and same deal, work experience, then got a casual gig.
Yeah.
But there's a lovely sibling mance, which grew and blossomed
into this.
Very lovely to see.
And now here we are.
Dog.
Into dog. Exactly.
Dog.
And every time you
turn down the volume.
Every time you're on the podcast, Rad, I gotta turn down the volume.
And then I'm too quiet, so she's setting up.
Do you want to actually hold on to the mic? And then that means we've got a bit more distance to Rad.
Further from Rad.
Yeah. Rad gets very excited.
I do.
Yeah.
Only when I'm happy.
Yeah, but it's turned to dog, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys couldn't be more different. Like, physically, personality-wise, ethnicity.
Height.
Gender.
Yep.
Almost the same height.
Yeah. Which is good. It's like the most beautiful, opposites attract story, right, in the workplace. But, you guys have been on Good Game for a while and you've been kind of hanging about,
Just been around,
Just been around,
all the things.
It's kind of just hanging out with everyone. What was your first memory of Good Game?
Oh. You want to go first?
I can go first. I was doing work experience. I had shaved my head the week before I started. So I was feeling very scared and vulnerable. I got there at 9 or something because that's when I was told to turn up. Nobody here gets in at 9.
Yeah, we've left a few work experience kids in the foyer when they've turned up at 9.
It's happened. We don't tell them 9 anymore, but I was told 9. No one was here except for Naz, who no longer works here.
Old man Naz.
But he came down and he had only started the month before, so he was quite new as well. And he didn't know what to do with me. He just brought me up and sat me down and he was like, okay, bye. And then I did my week of work experience and I was so nervous the entire time. I would be sweating before I came in, and after I left I just felt like the weight of the world had just left my shoulders because I was so stressed out the entire time.
Which is hilarious because we are probably one of the most laid back officers. Not to say that we're not intense.
No.
Because if we hate you
you'll know about it.
You'll know about it, exactly. Sammy, what was your first memory of Good Game?
The thing I can remember is before I came in, I was like, oh, Good Game. I wonder if they just play games and everything. And then Janet was like, because I was family friends with Janet at the time, she was like, no, there's lots of stuff behind the scenes. You'll get to see everything. I got into the office and Joe was doing some capture for Driver San Francisco, which I think came out in 2011 sometime. And yeah, he was just sitting there playing a game working and John was watching him play and they were just talking about the game and playing it. And that's one of like the earliest memories I have of Good Game.
And you're like, these cats are pretty cool.
I was like, this is cool. This is very cool.
Do you want to hear my earliest memory of Sam?
What was your earliest memory of Sam?
So I had gotten in, like, because I was work experience, I always got in early. And I came in and I was like, what do you want me to do today? And Jay, the production coordinator at the time, set me up doing some transcriptions for the episode that was going to air that week. And he was just like, we have a guy that comes in to do this, but, you know, he's not here yet, so you can just get a start. So I was like, okay, I'm doing the work. And then this guy comes in.
That guy was me.
He's got a backpack on and his headphones in. And he like walks up. I'm sitting at his desk. He walks up and he just stops and he takes his headphone out and he just looks at me and just stares. He's just like, and I was like, and so I was like,
Nancy's sitting there like,
and I'm like, you can have it back. And I like just got up and I just went and sat in another chair and just like stared at my hands because I was like, I've intruded.
So Sam was too polite to ask you to leave.
He didn't say anything. He just went,
I don't remember that, but that does sound like me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, you know, you worked on quite a few Good Game episodes. By quite a few, probably a few hundred by now.
Yep.
Across many of our shows. What has been your most memorable and favorite moment?
One of the segments, I don't know if it's a segment, but last year we did this thing because we have named the game in every episode. And last year we kind of took a creative approach to handling it. So we had little things like Hack a Hex and the creepy dummy thing. That was super creepy. And there was another one that I can't remember.
Detectives.
Detectives, yes. That was awesome.
70s True Detective.
Yeah. I really enjoyed those little things. I don't know. It was just a little break away from the gaming stuff we usually did. But
and you got to cameo in suits and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah. I was Gus's bodyguard.
For me, I would say the Bond BC because I think I was in the background but on screen for that and I was still very, very new. And I remember I had to go get fitted at wardrobe for a dress for it. And that was the first time I think that I'd ever done anything with wardrobe and that felt really weird but kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I got to host Good Game with Nick.
Whoa!
That was. I mean, that's still pretty fresh, so it doesn't feel like a best of memory yet. But I think it'll go down as being pretty special.
Yeah. On that point, though, because I had a couple questions.
Okay.
About your meteoric rise to the front of camera. Where's your question? Tom Phillips asks.
Hi, Tom.
What has it been like transitioning from behind the scenes role into one where you now sometimes host the big show? Is that something you planned on happening? Was that in the works?
Was your plan all along?
2012 coming in, stealing Sammy's chair. And you're like, one day I'm going to sit in that red chair and I'm going to host a show.
Honestly, I never thought about it. And even now I don't really think about it. It just kind of happened. I think it was a combination of right place, right time, right enthusiasm and ability to do the job. And yeah, so like when I started, I was like, this place is amazing and I love the show and it seems like a really great place to be and work. And I had nothing else going on at the time. So I was like, I want to learn more. And then that just, you know, it's been a step-by-step thing. I've been with Good Game for like 4 almost 5 years. And there was never any point where I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. it was
You're like, were you trying to, you know, like figure out your murder plan of like who you gonna take out, who you gonna take out on your way to the top?
That's when Naz went.
Yeah, he's not actually in Queensland. He's just in the basement.
No, I think I really enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. I like performing. I like doing all that kind of stuff. And I was just lucky enough that the opportunities were there for me to have a go at it, and I didn't suck at it. And because of that, you know, they trusted me to be able to do more, which is fabulous and fun for me. And I'm just really enjoying it.
You're just happy to be here.
Just happy to be here, mate. What a time to be alive.
Do you get that thing where I was thinking on the bus this morning and I was like, I'm a type of person who tends to hide fear quite well. because I've got like a pretty stoic, pretty stoic outer. And because of the nature of my job, if I lose my shit,
everybody else does.
Then you may as well just cancel everything.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to get done. I'm the last port of call for panic.
Responsibility.
Like if I start panicking, everyone should start panicking.
Yeah.
There's probably a fire in the building.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen you like panic. I've seen you stressed, but I don't think I've seen you panic.
Yeah, I just go silent when I'm stressed. Though.
Yeah.
I go silent and I'm like, just everyone needs to leave right now. And I need to get this shit done. But do you get that sense when, for example, you get told like, hey, by the way, you're going to host a big show? Like, do you get that?
That to me is just exciting.
Yeah.
Like because I've done performance-based stuff since I was little. Yeah. And to me,
you are the youngest child as well. So
I am the youngest child. I just love attention so much. So to me, that was never scary. The things that are scary for me are like once Ben was like, oh, you should produce the intro video for Good Game Live. And when he said those words, I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know how to produce. I don't know how to do anything. And I ended up doing it. Well, he says I did it, but I'm like...
I didn't know how to produce for like 4 years. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just wing it.
Yeah, exactly. So stuff like that scares me, but I feel like with hosting, I know exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing, so that's really easy. For me, the unknown is a lot scarier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, no one really knows what they're doing in this place anyway.
Well,
don't tell anyone. But
when you host, they give you a script and you say the words on the script, and that's it.
Shh! Don't tell people that.
As we're recording this,
yeah, I'm gonna have to cut that out. Keep the notion that everything's real.
Everything's fine.
Samwise, what are you most proud of that you've done on the show?
Oh God,
I know, right?
I should have thought about this.
Can I tell you my favorite moment though? The Baby Sam sketch, man.
Oh,
like I remember being, I think I was in Melbourne. Was that early this year?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I was in Melbourne during GDC prep or something.
Yeah, I think you may have been actually. Yeah.
And you guys uploaded it and I was like, I saw the thumbnail and I was like, what the fuck? what have they done? And then I watched it and it was literally one of the most surreal things I've ever seen. And then you popping up at the end.
You know what? Like, let's go with that. That's
the cupcake.
That's what I'm most proud of.
No, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, Sammy.
I got in that day and Nick was like...
He was like this close to taking his shirt off too, but Pete wouldn't let him.
I did offer, but Pete was like, no.
But they didn't rub like baby oil on you?
No, none of that. Oh. He was like, here's a bold cap, put this on. And I was like, all right.
So where do you want me to be? Next to John's crotch.
Yep, just get up in there. Just pop your head up.
Just get up in there. Right.
We'll record it and put it on the internet.
Yeah. I feel like you are probably champion of some of the most awkward moments on film. What would be the most awkward moment?
That one's pretty awkward. Oh, we were...
Bodger's tape.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, yes, the 17th tape.
Yeah. That was painful for him, but fun for me. Was it last year we were scientists?
Yep.
And it was a really hot day, so I wore shorts. And then we had... in the final episode. Yeah. In the GG Awards. And
he looked naked.
I looked naked. If it wasn't for the robe, the scientist coat.
Oh but I feel like this is what you've been working out for, Sammy. Like otherwise, why would you work out?
Exactly, just
so other people can see your naked body. That's the only reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you worked out a proudest moment yet?
I was really proud of the interview we did with Ben Brode just recently. Actually, I'm a big Hearthstone player. I love Ben Brode, and I created these Hearthstone cards for him to kind of review and look at for the Hearthstone interview we did on Pocket, and he loved it and he was great, and it was just a good episode. Yeah,
good card, Sammy.
Thanks.
Great arts and crafts.
Thanks, mate.
You managed to graduate from kindergarten
sick,
like with an A+, right? Rad, your proudest moment.
Maybe I would say either the Overwatch Buttgate episode of Well Played or
that was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was quite good. Or the OS one, just because I put a lot of work into both of those, and the Buttgate one, I think it was the first thing that I had done that was like actually me doing the episode, not just topping and tailing. with a hinged story in the middle. And I was like kind of scared because it was kind of controversial and a lot of people getting really G'd up about it. But the response was amazing and people were really lovely. And I felt really proud of all the words that I chose really carefully. And then the OS one I was really happy with because it was something a little bit different. It was something that we hadn't done before and I kind of came up with it and figured it out. I think I probably did the most, or maybe not. I was going to say I did the most producing, I think, that I had done up till that point on that one. And it went really, really well. And I was like, yay! Like, I can come up with ideas and they can work, and that's really exciting.
It's good. You didn't fail.
I didn't fail.
Your parents are very proud of you.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah. Hey, what? Because I was. What'd you say, Sammy?
Nothing. What's up?
What? What, Duke? Because I was talking to Sunita just then. And we were talking about kind of Asian parents and whether they're proud of you or whether they watch your segments or your shows. Do your parents watch you on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. What's their reaction?
My parents are almost too proud, as in they share things with people who don't watch Good Game and don't understand what they're looking at. So my mum is in a WhatsApp group with people that she did law with in Singapore. Yeah. In when she was in uni.
Yeah.
And she'll send them links. Yep. And then they'll write stuff back like, oh, you must be so proud. Like, they don't know what's going on. They don't enjoy this. Like, why are you sharing it, Mum? And she's like, it's good. They like it.
But I mean, that's fantastic that, your parents are so supportive and proud of you, It's a good thing. Like, it's embarrassing, let's...
Oh, no, totally. And I'm extremely close with my family. Yeah. So it's really nice that... And I don't think that my parents off the bat necessarily thought that, especially, gaming and stuff like that was something that I should pursue as a career. Because I wanted to be a musician when I was younger. And they were always very much like, oh yeah, absolutely, 100%, go for it. But make sure that you have a backup career. Like, make sure you go to uni and you get a degree and just build up your career and then do music on the side. And if it pans out,
surely this is better than music. You're being paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had the same attitude. Yeah. And now here I am.
Still not a lawyer or a doctor yet.
No. But at least I'm getting paid. Yeah. But yeah, so I think they had some apprehension, but they were like, well, at least she's not a homeless musician. So there's that.
Well, you're still at home, so you can't really be homeless until they kick you out. Yeah,
they're never going to kick me out. I promise you. I don't reckon my parents would ever kick me out. Yeah. Would your parents have kicked you out?
No, I don't think so. Oh, potentially. Like if I was there when I was like 35.
You reckon they would have kicked you out?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think my parents would. Even if I was like, if they, bless their little hearts, lived this long, if I was like 60, I think they'd still be like...
They're just happy that you're there.
Yeah, no, right? They are.
Yeah.
They're just happy to be there.
Aren't we all?
Yep.
All right. What's... Talking about happiness, what's a game that takes you to your happy place? I feel like I know this, Sam.
What are you going to say?
Is it Hearthstone?
At the moment, it's probably Hearthstone, yeah.
Of all time, though?
I was trying to think about this, and I was thinking WoW, because I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft back in the day, like in high school and early uni days. And it's just a game I would just spend hours in with friends, just doing quests, tinkering away at things, having fun. And I think that would probably be my answer, World of Warcraft in its prime. But now it would be Hearthstone, which is another Blizzard game.
Well, it's a funny
Dota brings pain and happiness.
Yeah, but I actually find Dota, because it requires so much concentration, it brings deep distraction. Mm-hmm. So I actually find that when I'm struggling the most, Dota is actually fantastic because for that hour or however long you're in the game, you're so absorbed in what's happening and what your next move's going to be and every little detail about the game that you do forget everything else.
Yeah.
And that to me, like, it sounds so stupid, but that to me has actually been like a saving grace in a lot of ways. When I just when stuff is too much and I can't deal with it, I have Dota. and like Dota can be so terrible and people can be really, really awful and the games can be really bad. But at the same time, I'll be completely focused on that and not whatever else is happening. So I would kind of say Dota, but for like a I guess, kind of like happier game. I like spending time in things like Transistor. I really, really liked Transistor. So just games that are really beautiful and the music's really beautiful, kind of. It's a bit of a
what's
place.
really interesting is that during all these interviews, I've realized that so many of us are pure masochists. like people pick games who bring a lot of which bring a lot of pain and hate. Yeah. For them, but that's just the kind of people we are, right?
Yeah.
All right. If budget was not a concern, if money was not a concern, what would you make good game? Like, what would you turn it into?
Well, first of all, we'd all get new computers and new TVs, like ones that actually work. That's all I can think about now. You go.
We'd shoot everywhere we could, every day of the week, with as much crew, camera, gear as possible.
HD. We'd shoot in HD.
4K, 8K, 8K, 12K.
I don't want to be on screen in 8K.
It's a lot of makeup needed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, too much.
Unlimited budget.
Yeah.
I think we would just expand heaps. I think we would have, bigger office space that's set up so that we can shoot whenever we want in different areas. I think we would probably stream a lot more as well. Certainly, I kind of think that, we would expand the team, but at the same time, our team's so tight-knit and we're such a kind of close little family.
God, we hate new people.
It's so hard to imagine new people stepping in. It's always, really, really hard.
Samira and Toby.
Oh, those guys. Bloody
New people, man.
They have nothing but good things to say about you two.
I didn't say anything.
We didn't even talk about you two. So, I mean, we're talking about the sibling mats and like how tight knit the family of Good Game is. What's the best shenanigan that anyone's pulled on the show?
The one that I think still makes me giggle the most is I get scared pretty easily.
Yeah,
I'm a bit jumpy.
What do you say?
A bit jumpy.
I mean, you've been scared a lot.
I can only think of one. What are you thinking of?
Okay, you go.
I think I can think of many instances where you have been scared. You hear that high pitched scream in the office.
You get scared when I tap you on the shoulder to tell you something
because I'm not expecting it. But once I came in and it was Sam was in the office and Pete and me and we're earlier than everyone else and I said hi to the guys and then I went and filled up my water bottle.
This is what I was thinking as well.
Yeah. And I came back and I set my water bottle on my desk and sometimes I'll stand at my desk and do some work just before I sit down. So I was standing at my desk typing and then Pete grabbed my ankle from under the desk and I screamed so hard I almost had a heart attack. I fell backwards and was so terrified. And then Sam just turns around and he's got this shocked look on his face and Peter looks like he's just killed someone. And he's sorry. He was already thought he had taken it too far. And he's sorry, I was hiding under your desk and then you didn't sit down and I didn't know what to do.
He was under there for a while because he didn't know what to do. So he was just do I grab or do I just crawl out awkwardly or do I just stay until she leaves again?
He started the joke and then didn't know where to take it.
Oh man, there could have been a manslaughter case in the office that day. Did you film it, Sammy?
I didn't film that one. No.
So good.
If only there were hidden cameras in this office, we could have a whole compilation of me just getting scared.
Except human resources would. An OH&S would come down on us like a ton of bricks for the amount of harassment that we perpetuate in this office.
I wouldn't be fired though.
No. You would be the victim.
Yeah.
They would have to interview you and tell us your story.
I'll sue you all.
Yeah, technically I'd be sued because, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't be held liable for anything. We're children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all your fault, Lynn.
Yeah. It's all upwards referral, they call it. You have to refer issues upwards. Yeah. Sammy, any good shenanigans?
I can't think of anything else. That was kind of my big one as well.
It's okay. I mean, you're gonna be like 65 on a train somewhere.
Remember that time when Peter climbed under Rad's desk?
That, yeah.
It's funny because he came around and he was like, I'm just going to hide under the desk. Just don't tell her. And I was like, all right. And then she came and sat down and just started typing or whatever and nothing happened. And I was like, is he going to do something? Or
good stuff.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Well, there's definitely a fly on the wall doco about this team.
My one other thing that I think about a lot, just because the thing's still stuck up on the wall, is once Barjo asked me to print something for him, and I printed a giant picture of a bagel because we call him Bagel sometimes, and just like this, as big as you can on an A4 piece of paper, just a picture of a bagel. So I said, yeah, it's printed. And he walks around to the printer to get his thing and he just picks up this picture. And so he like has a bit of a giggle. Then he walks around the corner, punches a hole through the middle of the bagel and sticks his tongue through it and just like stands there sticking his tongue out of this bagel hole at me. And I was like, I've made a huge mistake. And now that same piece of paper is stuck above our printer.
Yeah.
Hole and all.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful work of art. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
It's been a good time.
Have people been asking you these questions?
They have occasionally. I'm just wondering if you guys can ask me.
Yeah.
What?
Let us interview you.
I guess you can ask me any of these questions. I've got one from Ben down below.
Let's go to Ben
at Shackers.
At Shackers.
Yeah.
Hello, Ben. My name is also Ben, and we have this question from Ben. Lin, you've referenced so many cinematic/TV genres and styles. Most challenging? Most rewarding?
Oh, that's a great question from Shackers.
I have to say, I don't even remember all the parodies and homages I've done in my time. There have been too many. There's probably one every 2 weeks. At least for this year.
Yeah.
I think this year in particular, the two most rewarding were the two reality parodies that we did on Spawnpoint, Darren Chef and the Darren Factor. Because what those two segments taught me was that I have watched way too much reality television.
There's no such thing.
In my life.
There's no such thing as too much.
The interesting thing is that Darren Factor script I wrote in 10 minutes during lunchtime before we had to film it.
Genius.
Like I pulled that shit out of my ass in 10 minutes. Like that's how much reality television I've watched in my life, that I could just siphon the moments of parody. I have to say the hardest one I have ever done, I mean, my favorite one has been the Bond BC, by far.
Yep.
But I made the terrible mistake of giving Ben that script to direct. So still ruining that decision. But the hardest one was Totally Incompatible with Christmas Carol.
Oh, yep.
That was like, I look back at, I still have material like preparation.
I thought you were going to say nightmares.
Yeah. No, I probably had nightmares like, because we did that in 2013 or something.
Yeah,
I think I had nightmares like a year after producing that segment. But I still have, camera diagrams and set drawings I have from prepping. I prepped that for a month and we shot that over, I have to say 2.5 days. So we did like 1 full day of green screen, 1 full day kind of on set. And I look back at that now and I still go, how the hell did I manage to get through that and get something on the screen? Like we shot something like 14 pages on a day or something. It was insane.
It was crazy because so much of it was on green screen and you were having to do reverses and all the different angles. Yeah.
But also the hardest thing to direct, and you can ask any director this, but the hardest thing to direct is multiple people around a table.
Tell me more. That's interesting.
So do you guys know Crossing the Line?
Yep.
Right? How many lines do you think you have when you have 4 people around a round table?
1. Oh, wait, a round table. Damn it. Yeah. Put them all on the same side. 1.
So you could do something like, Da Vinci's Last Supper, where you literally put them all on one side and then you can have the camera on the other side like a stage play. But if you have them around a table...
8?
There's a lot. It depends on what perspective you want to go with. The easiest way is to shoot from one character perspective, so you would have 3 lines, basically. That's like minimum, I think you have 3 lines. the best way to look about it, to actually understand, is watch an episode of Downton Abbey when they have those banquet scenes. And I literally, this is where I did my research before that shoot, was I would watch episodes of Downton Abbey during the banquet sequences and work out how they would shoot the coverage and where they would put the lines. But that's a lot of coverage for like 4 people around a table. And that's the hardest thing to do, because you have to think about, okay, which way are they looking now? Which character are we shooting from? That's incredibly difficult, like knowing where to place a camera. And the other thing is, like, when we did the green screen plates, because we did them, I think, before we actually shot the actual set stuff. And then working out where the plate would be situated in the scene. And this is me doing it. I don't have a visual effects director. Like, I don't have someone from, Industrial Light and Magic telling me where the little green tennis ball would be, right? So it's me sitting there, discussing it with Gus, who would be doing the plates and the effects. Like, shit, where would they be? And it's very, it's all hypothetical. It's in your brain. Like, sometimes people might use software to actually build a scene with mannequins walking through it and with camera positions to see what the shot would look like. But I was doing it via paper diagrams and in my head. And I can't draw, so I draw like really simple storyboards with like stick figures. But definitely that shoot was insane. And I don't know if I could do it ever again. But all the totally incompatibles are were traumatic, I think, to some extent, traumatic. Right? Like, because the second season we shot 6 in a day. And we got to the end where we were shooting the last one with Pete and Naz as removalists.
Oh, yeah.
And it was hilarious, man. Like, that's still one of my favorite episodes and segments that we've ever done. But that was, I think, something like 21 pages of script in a day. And
they came out amazing. I never want to do it again.
Yeah. And we never did it again after that. I think the Christmas Carol one was the last one we ever did, because I look at that now and I'm like, I'm not young anymore.
It's done. Yeah.
I'm not young anymore. I don't have the energy to do that. If I was like 26 again, yes, I would do it, but no one has the energy anymore. So Ben, that was the hardest thing.
What was the other long shoot? The top 100. Remember how ridiculous that was?
Yeah.
That was a long day.
Yeah.
I think we finished at like
those foam numbers. Remember the hectic
I can't
wrangling?
remember why we had, I can't remember who was like, we need foam numbers.
I think it was Janet. It's always
Janet. Probably. There was like, foam numbers you want, foam numbers you gon' get.
Yeah, it's probably Naz. So much Naz talk.
So he can't defend himself. He's in Queensland. He's retired. He's got enough money. But yeah.
The shenanigans one?
Yeah, do you have a favourite shenanigan?
I don't have one off the top of my head. Whenever Barjo's hiding, I think, is a good shenanigan. Like, I was telling him in his interview, I caught him hiding behind a few cardboard boxes the other day, waiting for Hex to come along. And I was there filming for like 5 minutes trying to get the scare, and she never came.
Yeah,
and we just gave up and was like,
I've ever filmed him for a half hour hiding beneath her desk, waiting for her to come, and then she just never came.
Yeah.
And then he starts getting bored and starts rocking around and stuff. Yeah.
What was your first day like?
Okay, so
take us back.
I'll take you back. So
way back.
So it was February of 2010. So this is before I actually officially started on Good Game as an employee of Good Game, and I was still a digital business graduate, part of the ABC commercial department, and it was the first day of my Good Game rotation. So my then manager was like, "Great, you're going to have a 3-month rotation in Good Game." And I was like, what's Good Game? And that was like 2009. So I looked up Good Game and I was like, okay, whatever. And at that time I was working on level 9. So I saw Barjo and Junglist shooting. So I was like, oh, that weird little show that's shot in the bedroom. Great. Sounds good. I knew at that point in time I was completely passionate about filmmaking and that's what I wanted to do my entire life. So it was really exciting to get onto an actual TV show after doing, 3-4 rotations elsewhere in the ABC and doing a lot of paperwork and reports and, the boring stuff. And I remember walking in the first day and I think I met Elliot, maybe.
Dad.
Actually, this is all a lie. I actually have a first memory of Good Game, but I'll tell you guys after this one. So
that was the fake memory first.
I'll tell you the fake memory first. So the first day is I met Elliot, and I met Mo, who used to work on the show, whom I actually think I took his job when he left.
Hi, bitch.
Yeah, he actually works on Rage now. Yeah. So I met Mo, I met Elliot, and they were like, hi, and I'm like, hi, I'm Lin Jie, I'm an intern, I'll be here for 3 months. And they were like, oh, great. And then I sat in a partition on the other side of the office, and I didn't say anything for about a month. And I sat there. Occasionally I would stand up and peek over the partition and see what people were doing. And I remember Janet's son like recalling this one day, and he was like, Mom, who is that, like that Asian girl who's like sitting on that side? Like, I literally didn't speak because I'm very much a believer of observing whenever you're anywhere new. And because I was an intern anyway, it's like it didn't really matter. They weren't, Good Game wasn't paying me. But I wanted to observe and learn and see what everyone's roles were and what people were doing. And then I ended up at Good Game for 6 months instead of the 3 months. So
by your choice, or they just didn't move you along?
I think News 24 weren't ready for me. And then I didn't
ain't ready for all this.
And then I didn't want to go out to digital business. So I was like, so I'll just like stay in Good Game for a while. And by that stage, like by the third month, I was like producing segments. So I was like, this is what I want to do. This is great.
Yeah, cool.
But the first memory was...
Here we go.
The first memory was late 2009, just before I think the Junglist stuff blew up, and I was working with ABC Innovation, which used to be New Media. It's like digital directives now. I don't know what they call it. Basically, the people who come up with weird technology things for ABC and projects and stuff. And I was working on this augmented reality database project called Bluebird. And they wanted me to get some capture done or something. On a previous project they did on Gallipoli, was like a online experience. And they were like, we need some game capture. Can you cut a trailer for us? And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they were like, okay, the only capture system is at Good Game. So at that point in time, the head of that group was called Sam Doust. And he's actually a good friend of Janet. And he led me through the dark corridors of level 6 edit, that edit suite corridor, the infinite corridor of, shadows, whatever, down into the Good Game office, which at that time was a cupboard on level 6.
Yep.
And they sat me down, and I feel like Joe was actually the first person I met. And Sam was like, okay, so this is Lin Jie, she's here to do some capture. So can you help her? And I'm like, okay, yeah, so what am I doing? And at that point in time, this is 2009, right? They captured through a P2 camera onto mini DV. This is before your time, right? So they literally hooked up this Panasonic P2 camera via the AV out of a computer of a video card, and then you had to capture to DV tape.
That actually brings me pain to listen to.
Okay, so this is how they captured back in the day. And so I sat there, I went through the online experience, capturing enough footage onto this mini DV tape, and then I was like, thanks, guys. Bye. Didn't see them again for like 4 months, right? But the funny thing is, that second time, no one had remembered who I was.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I was like, so I was here like 3-4 months ago. But that was my first days at Good Game. I did my first day at Good Game 3 different times.
My first interaction with Good Game was I ran into Steph in the lobby.
Yeah.
And I think I still wasn't confirmed for work experience, and I'd like been watching the show and stuff like that. And I did the thing where like you stand back for a second, you're like, that's Hex from Good Game. Should I say hi? Will I regret not saying hi? Will she find it weird if I say hi?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say hi.
Yeah.
And then like Steph is real vague if she's not paying it
absolutely.
Yeah, she's like, if she's focused on something, she's focused on that thing, and everything else is dead to her. So like she was on her phone, and I think she was like figuring out where to go next or something, and I just like came up and said hi, and she just like looked at me real vague and was like, what? And I'm like, I've made a huge mistake.
Bye.
But it's fine now because you share the same screen with her, so it's all good. Well, thanks very much, you guys.
Thanks.
It's been a good fun chat. Thank you.
And that was Samrad. And what a joy it is to work with these youngins with their dank memes and YouTube celebrities. They keep a 30-year-old like me still relatively hip. Still to come on future episodes, interviews with Hex and other members of the team. As always, if you have a comment or question, tweet me at LGeology or leave a comment on SoundCloud or Facebook. You can also subscribe to this podcast through iTunes. I'm Lin Jie Kong. Till next time, goodbye.